Cyberpunk 2077 was one of the first games I covered on this channel, and we've come a long way since then, and so has Cyberpunk. The Phantom Liberty expansion is a large, substantial amount of new and engaging content to Cyberpunk 2077. Update 2.0 is the real highlight in my eyes. Let me know any questions you have in the comments down below and I will get back to you. For clarity, we only allowed to show footage provided by CDPR in this review embargo, so we can't show you anything from Update 2.0, even from the base game, until its actual release tomorrow, and Phantom Liberty content we can't show until its actual release. So I'll have some Update 2.0 content for you as soon as we're able to, and because we can't show our own footage, and because I haven't spent as much time in the game as I actually would like to because of other commitments, I don't want to give like a full review here. This is going to be like my initial impressions, and then once the Phantom Liberty expansion actually releases, I'll do a proper like NorZZa review with some good editing and a couple of memes or two, you know how it goes. So Phantom Liberty feels very much like the blood and wine moment for Cyberpunk 2077. And I think part of that is because of Update 2.0 as well, which we'll cover separately at the end of this video. But there is a lot of similarities in the way that it changes how you think about Cyberpunk 2077, similar to the way that Blood and Wine does for The Witcher, especially by adding new skill trees, very similar. You know, there's a lot of similarities in that. Now, while Dogtown itself is a walled off and pretty small district inside Pacifica, it's very dense and it's not all set inside Dogtown, which I think is a really good restriction to remove, because there is so much to see and do in Night City that it's worth going outside the walls of the Dogtown area. And I quite enjoyed exploring a new part of Night City and seeing different people as well as different vehicles and weapons and all that good stuff, but also the guards and how different they are. A lot of that is sort of related to the new AI and the way that the combat works as well, so it's hard to distinguish between those two, but I did enjoy exploring Dogtown and seeing what it has to offer, especially the like black market area. That area is super cool. There's a lot of interesting things to see and do in that area. But the main meat on the bones here is the quest. Now, there's obviously a main quest which does add a new ending to the base game and plenty of side quests and gigs to explore as well. Cyberpunk has always had like incredible mission design, and returning to Cyberpunk 2077 with Update 2.0, I decided to start a new character and go through the story until you naturally hit that point where the expansion unlocks, which is just after the Voodoo Boys mission transmission, and then I went straight into the Phantom Liberty DLC. But what I wanted to highlight is just how varied and unique some of the mission structure is. Every mission has a different feel to it, and a lot of RPGs often fit a very typical sort of gameplay loop with their mission structure, and you do a little bit of talking, you might make a decision here and there, you do a little bit of shooting, and then you'll finish that mission by doing a little talking. Now, generally speaking, that's, you know, the same here, but each mission has just something interesting happening, like something unique. I remember the intro mission for Phantom Liberty is just massive in scale and bombastic and incredibly enjoyable time. Like, I really enjoyed actually just kicking off this story. It really brings you into the world and what's happening in Dogtown and feels like a new different story that it's about to tell, and I really enjoyed how that actually kicked off. You are very quickly given the new relic skill tree, which I like, and you do take a little bit to invest in it if you do want to go further in, as you don't have many of the relic points to start off with, but they make a tangible difference to combat. Now, I originally went with the vulnerability set just to see how that would play with, and that is actually a massive buff to your overall combat ability when you can actually trigger those vulnerability weak spots. I'll save some more concrete criticisms for the full review, but something that I will point out is that basically as soon as I arrived in Dogtown, my performance was definitely worse. So throughout all of normal like base game Cyberpunk, I'm able to have ray tracing on my 3080, sit at around 50-60 frames depending on DLSS, etc. But on multiple times, just like randomly in Dogtown, my performance would absolutely tank, and I ended up just turning ray tracing off because I couldn't work out why that was occurring, and it only happens in Dogtown, but just wanted to call that out here. Solomon Reed, or Idris Elba's performance, is absolutely incredible, like definitely on par with Keanu Reeves, and I really like his character, and that backstory that we got from that cinematic trailer is very integral to the game, so absolutely would recommend to go and watch that cinematic trailer. So I think the biggest hurdle or criticism that I have for Phantom Liberty is that because the main story in Cyberpunk itself has weird pacing issues in its own right, because it is a life or death scenario and you can go out and do, you know, whatever else you like, there's a similar issue with Phantom Liberty's story in that you are roped into another life or death scenario and, you know, immediate impact story that that you have to deal with while you've got your own problems to deal with. But they do deal with that in an interesting way by having a tangible impact to what is happening with V and Johnny, especially as you think about, the new ending and that sort of a thing. So there is that impact, but something that I kind of liked about Blood and Wine for The Witcher 3, and I hate to bring that up again, and I like this in DLCs and expansions as well, is how they feel very disconnected from the main story and how they have a different pacing and rhythm to them. Whereas in Phantom Liberty, it is absolutely as bombastic and crazy as the main story, and there is always something happening that is incredibly important that you have to go and deal with right now. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It was just something that I wanted to point out. So Update 2.0 is the real standout here. Now, it's sometimes hard to differentiate between what I'm liking about Phantom Liberty and if it is specifically Phantom Liberty or if it's just also the fact that Update 2.0 is something that has occurred as well. The biggest difference here is the vehicle combat and the general dynamic moments that can come from this. I am really enjoying the freedom that it gives you to be able to fight people in cars and have actual car chases with the police. Multiple occasions I've, accidentally run someone over or started fights with the police and they actually come after you and chase you. And it's not just like a system like it was originally where you could just get in a car and you would just immediately lose the police. Like, you actually have to go through that process of losing your wanted level. And they've incorporated that into some of the Phantom Liberty quest lines as well, which I really enjoyed. And having that interactions and thinking about, the game in a different way, which we haven't had before, has been really good. Now, the new perk system, I absolutely love. This is a massive impactful change to the game, not only because you think about leveling differently. So while you're playing the game and progressing yourself and leveling up, you think about where you put those skill points in different ways. Maybe you've played Cyberpunk 50 times before or completed the game and made a ton of builds like I have. It's making me think about the game in a different way and what kind of builds I'm going to make and how the synergies work between the different weapons and the different perks, as well as the changes to armor and cyberware. So the biggest change here is now that armor is tied to cyberware, not your clothes. Now, there are changes to the cyberware themselves, all the cyberware pieces are a little bit different, and they also now link with attributes. So some cyberware pieces will get bonuses, say if it'll be linked with reflexes, for example, and you'll get additional benefits to using that cyberware based on the amount of reflexes stat that you actually have. But moving armor to be cyberware is an interesting change. I thought I would really like this because it makes sense because you wear any kind of clothes you like, but I'm actually not sure about it, and I think I need to spend more time considering it. So something you'll absolutely be doing many, many times now is returning to a Ripper dock to actually upgrade your armor, because armor is linked just so core to your survivability, and you have to go to a Ripper dock in order to improve your armor. Now, you can increase your health via, the body stat and that sort of a thing, no biggie there. But if you want to improve your armor, which will definitely be important, you actually have to go to a Ripper dock in order to do so, and then upgrading it, whether that be the piece you've already got or just buying a higher tier of a certain piece of armor. It's an interesting system, and I wish I could show it to you and explain it to you specifically, but we'll obviously do that when Update 2.0 does come out. But it's just something that I'm not sure exactly because I can't do it organically. I have to make that decision and remember that I need to go to a Ripper dock to do it, but it's just neither here nor there at the moment. Holistically though, the combat is so much better. Now, I was a fan of Cyberpunk's combat, but the reactivity of the enemies is much cleaner, and they also have sort of not bosses, but tougher elite type enemies in different encounters that have more health that you have to think of in different ways, and whether you take them out first or take out the fodder that's sort of around them. But the way that the new perk system interacts with the combat is really great, and choosing tangible upgrades like being able to dash or deflect bullets with a sword, or going in stealth and then using the new quick hack queue and queuing up quick hacks has been a fun system to play around with, and it makes you think about combat in different ways, and it does make such a difference to the combat here. I've played 200 hours of Cyberpunk 2077, and this has felt like almost a different game is the Update 2.0, and it's sometimes hard to distinguish what I am really enjoying about Update 2.0 and what I'm really enjoying about Phantom Liberty. But when you combine both of those things, this is a massive, substantial update for Cyberpunk 2077, and I absolutely think that you guys should check it out, and I can't wait to talk about it more, and I'll have plenty of videos coming out. But this is just my general off the head thoughts. I'm just reading off notes. I haven't written a proper script, so hope this was useful to you guys. Let me know any questions you have in the comments down below, and I'll get back to you. Thank you guys for watching this video till the end. Thank you to our members for supporting the channel. My name is NorZZa, and I hope you have a great day.